Number 9. Disaster narrowly avoided. On July 20th, 2020, a United Airlines Boeing 787 and an EasyJet Airbus A320 came within 300 feet of colliding above France. The United Airlines plane was arriving at Charles de Gaulle Airport while the EasyJet was preparing to depart for Malaga, Spain. The near miss was blamed on a slip of the tongue by an air traffic controller. According to an official safety report, planes were landing on a runway called 09 right, while aircraft were taking off from a runway called 09 left. The air traffic controller mistakenly told the incoming United Airlines flight to land on 09 right, the runway that planes were taking off from, while also telling the EasyJet plane to prepare for takeoff from the same runway. After lining up to land, the United Airlines plane began to descend toward the runway, straight in the direction of the EasyJet. The EasyJet crew and the air traffic controller both told the United Airlines pilot not to land just in the nick of time to avoid disaster. All things considered, the situation could have turned out much worse. Number 8. TWA Flight 800. Just minutes after taking off from New York's John F. Kennedy International Airport on July 17, 1996, a Paris-bound Transworld Airlines Boeing 747 jumbo jet broke apart in midair over the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of East Maurice. All 230 souls aboard perished in the disaster, making it the third deadliest aviation accident in United States history. A National Transportation Safety Board investigation found no evidence of corrosion, metal fatigue, structural faults, or high-energy explosion. It was initially speculated that a terrorist attack had occurred, but authorities ultimately found no evidence of foul play. The NTSB investigation took 4 years. It was the costliest, most extensive, and most complex investigation of its kind in U.S. history at the time. The agency ruled that the accident was most likely caused by the explosion of flammable vapors in the center fuel tank, and that the blast was probably triggered by a short circuit. These findings are speculative rather than definitive, but it's the closest the NTSB could come to providing the public with conclusive answers. Number 7. Japan Airlines Flight 123. Japan Airlines Flight 123 was a domestic passenger flight that tragically crashed on August 12, 1985, 12 minutes after takeoff from Tokyo to Osaka. The Boeing 747 suffered a structural failure, leading to rapid decompression and loss of control. Out of the 524 people on board, 15 crew members and 505 passengers lost their lives. The crash is the deadliest single aircraft accident in aviation history. The accident was attributed to a faulty repair performed by Boeing technicians following a tail strike incident 7 years earlier. The repair did not meet Boeing's approved standards, weakening the aircraft's structure. When this repair ultimately failed, it led to the catastrophic event. The aftermath of the crash saw a significant decline in public confidence in Japan Airlines, with passenger numbers dropping and rumors circulating about Boeing's responsibility. JAL paid compensation to the victims' families, and several individuals connected to the incident tragically took their own lives. To honor the victims, a cenotaph was erected, and an annual memorial gathering is held near the crash site. Additionally, a safety promotion center was established at Haneda Airport to promote airline safety awareness. In 2009, an oxygen mask from the flight was discovered near the crash site during road repairs, and this followed the previous discovery of engine parts in the same area in the year prior. Number 6. Tenerife Airport Disaster. On March 27, 1977, 2 Boeing 747 passenger jets collided on the runway at Los Rodeos Airport, now Tenerife North Airport, in Spain. The collision was caused by KLM Flight 4805 initiating takeoff in dense fog while Pan Am Flight 1736 was still on the runway. Everyone on board KLM Flight 4805 and most of the occupants of Pan Am 1736 died. It was the worst aviation disaster in Spain's history and the deadliest accident in aviation history with 583 fatalities. The disaster was exacerbated by a bomb detonated on the Canary Islands Independence Movement at Gran Canaria Airport, diverting several flights, including the two involved in the collision, to Los Rodeos. This led to congestion at the airport, with parked airplanes blocking the taxiways and forcing departing planes to taxi on the runway. Additionally, patches of thick fog reduced visibility for both pilots and the control tower. The investigation determined that the primary cause of the accident was the KLM captain's decision to take off, believing a clearance had been issued. Dutch investigators also highlighted a misunderstanding in radio communications. KLM ultimately accepted responsibility and compensated the victims' families. The disaster prompted industry-wide changes, emphasizing the importance of standardized radio communication. Cockpit procedures were also reviewed, leading to the establishment of crew resource management and pilot training. The captain's infallibility was challenged, and the teamwork during operations was encouraged. Both flights were unscheduled stops at Tenerife, originally heading to Gran Canaria Airport in the Canary Islands. KLM Flight 4805 was a charter flight from Amsterdam with 235 passengers, while the Pan Am Flight 1736 had originated in Los Angeles and had 380 passengers. The collision occurred due to a series of factors, including the bomb threat, dense fog, and misunderstandings in radio communications. The disaster resulted in significant changes in aviation practices and highlighted the importance of effective crew coordination. Have you ever experienced extreme turbulence? Tell us about it in the comments below and hit subscribe while you're at it. Number 5, 1996 Charkhi Dadri Mid-Air Collision. On November 12, 1996, Saudi Flight 763, a Boeing 747, and Kazakhstan Airlines Flight 1907, an Ilyushin IL-76, collided over Charkhi Dadri, India, killing all 349 people on board. It remains the deadliest mid-air collision and the deadliest aviation accident in India. The collision was caused by the Kazakh crew's failure to maintain the correct altitude due to communication issues with air traffic control. Saudi Flight 763 had 312 people on board, including Captain Khalid Al-Shubaili, a seasoned pilot. The passengers included 215 Indians, 40 Nepalis, and 3 Americans, though there is some dispute about nationalities. The crew included 12 Saudi Arabian citizens as well. Kazakhstan Airlines Flight 1907, with 37 people on board, was captained by Alexander Cherepanov, an experienced pilot. It was carrying mostly ethnic Russian Kyrgyz citizens on a charter service. The collision occurred during descent for both flights. Air traffic controller V.K. Dutta was handling both planes. The instructions and altitude assignments led to a tragic misunderstanding. The Kazakh flight descended to an incorrect altitude, leading to the collision. Investigations found the Kazakh crew's language barriers and the reliance on radio operator for communication played a significant role. Additionally, confusion regarding altitude measurements contributed. The crash prompted recommendations for improved air traffic procedures and infrastructure around New Delhi. In the aftermath, it became mandatory for all aircraft flying in and out of India to be equipped with an airborne collision avoidance system. Efforts are ongoing to develop a memorial honoring the victims of the collision in Charkhi Dadri. The project awaits approval from the Haryana government and plans to involve various aviation authorities and embassies. At number 4, Air India Flight 182. While en route from Montreal to Bombay on June 23, 1985, Air India Flight 182 disintegrated over the Atlantic Ocean due to a bomb planted by Canadian Sikh terrorists. The explosion killed all 329 people on board, making it the worst terrorist attack in Canadian history and the deadliest act of aviation terrorism at the time. The attack was orchestrated by Babar Khalsa, a Sikh militant group. Despite some arrests, only one person, Inderjit Singh Rayat, was convicted for his involvement. He was sentenced to 15 years for assembling the bombs. The investigation and prosecution lasted almost 20 years and was the most expensive trial in Canadian history. A commission of inquiry in 2010 concluded that a series of errors by the Canadian government, RCMP, and intelligence agencies allowed the attack to happen. The roots of the plot trace back to Sikh separatist sentiments in Canada during the 1980s, with leaders like Talwinder Singh Parmar and Ajaib Singh Bagri playing key roles. The perpetrators used coded language and false identities to book tickets and plant bombs on 2 different flights. The bomb on Air India Flight 182 exploded at an altitude of 31,000 feet, causing the aircraft to break apart. Investigations led to the recovery of crucial evidence from the wreckage at the seabed, including the flight data and cockpit voice recorders. The tragedy remains a significant event in Canadian history, highlighting the transnational nature of terrorism and the challenges in preventing such attacks. At number 3, Turkish Airlines Flight 981. The tragic Turkish Airlines Flight 981 incident occurred on March 3, 1974, while en route from Istanbul to London with a stopover in Paris. During the journey, the cargo door of the McDonnell Douglas DC-10 aircraft blew open, causing explosive decompression. This catastrophic event led to the separation of critical control cables and resulted in the loss of control over the aircraft. The plane subsequently crashed into Emeronville Forest outside Paris, killing all 346 people on board. The primary cause of the accident was a cargo door design flaw. The cargo doors on the DC-10 opened outward to maximize cargo space, making them vulnerable to being forced open at high altitudes if not properly latched. An over-center concept latching system was used to secure the doors, ensuring they remained closed under pressure. However, deficiencies in the design and handling of these doors led to the disaster. The investigation revealed that a similar set of conditions had been foreseen during ground testing in 1970 before the DC-10 series entered commercial service. A memo from the fuselage manufacturer, Convair, to McDonnell Douglas had outlined the events that occurred on Flight 981 and its precursor, Flight 96, and predicted the possible loss of an aircraft if these events occurred. Despite this warning, though, no corrective actions were taken, ultimately leading to the tragic crash. Flight 981's cargo door was not correctly secured, and this design flaw, coupled with an inoperative locking mechanism, led to the door opening in flight, causing explosive decompression and the crash. McDonnell Douglas faced numerous lawsuits in the aftermath of the crash and ultimately settled out of court. Following this incident, the cargo door latching system was thoroughly redesigned and safety protocols were enhanced to prevent similar disasters. The FAA also mandated changes to the design of the outward opening cargo doors on various aircraft models, including the DC-10, Lockheed 1011, and Boeing 747. The crash of Turkish Airlines Flight 981 remains one of the deadliest aviation accidents in history, highlighting the importance of safety protocols and rigorous engineering standards in aviation. Number 2, Saudi Flight 163. Saudi Flight 163 was a scheduled passenger flight that caught fire after takeoff from Riyadh International Airport in Saudi Arabia on August 19, 1980. Although the plane made a successful emergency landing, the crew failed to perform an evacuation, resulting in the deaths of all 287 passengers and 14 crew members due to smoke inhalation. It was the deadliest accident involving a Lockheed L-1011 TriStar and the deadliest aviation disaster in Saudi Arabia at the time. The aircraft, a Lockheed L-1011-200 TriStar, had been in service for just over a year. The flight crew consisted of Captain Mohammed Al-Aikauter, First Officer Sami Abdullah M. Hassanen, and flight engineer Bradley Curtis. The flight, en route from Karachi, Pakistan to Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, with a layover in Riyadh, experienced smoke warnings about 7 minutes after takeoff. The crew spent 4 minutes trying to confirm the warnings. Captain Al-Koiter decided to return to the airport and the flight engineer confirmed the presence of smoke. The engine on the center of the plane was shut down due to the fire. The aircraft landed back at Riyadh, but during the evacuation process, both wing-mounted engines remained running, preventing the doors from opening promptly. The crew reported they were evacuating, but upon arrival, the rescue personnel found the engines still running. They were shut down 3 minutes later. Unfortunately, the delay allowed the fire to intensify, leading to the destruction of the aircraft and the loss of all on board. The investigation determined that the fire originated in the aft cargo compartment and 2 butane stoves were found, suggesting a possible source of the fire. However, this theory was not supported by evidence. In the aftermath, policy changes were implemented, including revisions to training and emergency procedures. Lockheed made structural enhancements to the aircraft, and recommendations were made regarding the use of halomethane extinguishers. The incident highlighted the importance of crew resource management, emphasizing the need for effective communication within flight crews. It also underscored the potential risks associated with the cultural power distances between crew members in high-stress situations. This event serves as a significant lesson in aviation safety. And at number 1, Iran Air Flight 655. Iran Air Flight 655 was a commercial flight that was shot down by the United States Navy's USS Vincennes on July 3, 1988. The flight was en route from Tehran to Dubai via Bandar Abbas when 2 surface-to-air missiles fired by the USS Vincennes struck the aircraft, resulting in the deaths of all 290 people on board. The incident occurred during the Iran-Iraq War. The U.S. accused the Vincennes crew of mistakenly identifying the aircraft as an attacking Iranian F-14 Tomcat and attempted to contact it several times on both military and civilian frequencies without a response. Iran contended that the Vincennes negligently shot down the civilian aircraft, which was transmitting a civilian identification signal, thus not posing any military threat. The incident raised significant criticism of the United States, with some blaming Captain William C. Rogers III for aggressive behavior. The U.S. compensated the victims' families without admitting legal liability or formally apologizing. The shootdown remains one of the deadliest aviation disasters involving an Airbus A300 and one of the deadliest airliner shootdown incidents in history. The context leading to the incident included heightened tensions between the U.S. and Iran, a pattern of incidents in the region, and misunderstandings and errors in communication and radar tracking by the USS Vincennes. The U.S. had expanded its naval protection to neutral shipping in the Persian Gulf, further complicating the situation. The incident raised questions about the crew's actions, the equipment and software used on the ship, and the rules of engagement in the region. Thanks for watching. Do you think any of these disasters could have been avoided? Tell us in the comments and remember to subscribe. See you soon. Bye for now.